Hello, I'm M.C.McNeel, and these are my twisted tales of fiction. Everything I am about to read to you are original works of my own creation for your listening pleasure, and I hope that you enjoy them. So come with me now on a journey through time and space as we travel back to 380 BC, just north of the Black Sea. This is Blood for Flowers, written by M.C.McNeel. Commander, the blood-soaked warrior called out across the corpse-strewn field of battle. Yes, Thera answered from atop her black warhorse. This one is still alive. The tall warrior with dark hair soaked wet in fresh blood said, pulling an arrow from out of the man's thigh as he cried out in agony. And why is that? Do you wish to breed with him? The commander laughed along with her brave warriors who stood nearby. No, came the reply as the woman stared down at the dark-eyed, frightened man. Can he walk? Thera asked as the sun beat down in the cloudless sky. The smell of blood and sweat permeated the air. No, Commander, my arrows have seen to that. Then finish him off, Thera instructed. The tall, blue-eyed, armor-clad warrior stood over the injured man, gazing down at him, saying, You were very brave to come here and fight with us today. However, your stupidity has outweighed your courage, she said simply, standing near his shoulder, unsheathing her long sword, slowly raising the sharpened siphos above her head. Then, with one precise, mighty blow, she severed the terrified man's head from his shoulders, his eyes wide in panic, even in death. All her sisters in arms cheered, their voices lifted above the blood-soaked battlefield. Then they all turned to listen as their commander shouted out more instructions. My brave ladies, you have all fought with much courage. Our unity, loyalty, respect, and honor have led us to the arms of victory once again. So cheer for our nation. Upon this day our queen shall be well pleased. A wave of rapturous shouts of elation swept through the crowd of soldiers. Now let us take the men who have survived, strip them naked, bring them down to the shore. Captain Vega, bring out the chains. Lacuna, unleash your hungry tigers, so they may feast upon the bodies of our enemies. Captain Lexa, scavenge for any armor or weapons of which we may find for future use. Commander Thera shouted, wiping the sweat from her brow. As the warrior women of Themyscira hurried to carry out their commander's orders, Captain Lexa of the cavalry rode over and explained to Thera that their enemy had inferior armor, constructed from rattan and wicker, their small shields made of wood and leather. Even the shafts of their arrows were made of date palm and wood, which was a poor choice to fight against the Themysciran army. With their bronze shields, iron-tipped javelins, sharp swords, and deadly arrows, not to mention their swift chariots and war steeds. Commander, even their swords are weak and brittle, like old men's bones. No use to us. Thera was perplexed by this saying loudly, so all the members of their fighting force and the men they had defeated in battle could hear. Oh, you unwise, foolish men, she said, chastising them. Have they not heard of us? Do they not know who they are dealing with? Commander Thera rode down to the sandy shore, where the surviving men stood naked as they were being chained together at the wrist, one by one, as the fearsome armor-clad women gathered there upon the northern beach of the Black Sea, when a call came up from a soldier who towered over a small naked man, who was not a man, but a young boy, about the age of 12 years old, who stood shaking in tears. The leader of the troop stared down shocked. You stupid men! You would bring a boy into battle? She screamed, angered by this turn of events. Let the boy loose, she ordered as one of the warriors hurried to obey Commander Thera's instructions. Now, my dear ladies, our thirst for battle and victory is legendary, but we do not slaughter children here. All the warriors had paused from their work, all except the tigers who were busy crunching the bones and eating the flesh of the dead. You, little boy, stop your crying and listen well. We will let you live. So you may bear witness to the destruction of these men, who have betrayed you by bringing you into battle against us here today. After they have all drowned beneath the waters, we will let you return to your homeland, so you may tell all of what you have witnessed here today, and spare no detail when you tell your story. Let your people know of our brutality." A cheer came up from Commander Thera's warriors as the frightened, chained-naked men trembled uncontrollably, their chains moving and shaking with the fear of death coursing through their veins. There, beside the waters of the Black Sea, which was lapping just behind the backs of the defeated men, the terrified little boy was set free. Thera dismounted her steed as she went over to the frightened lad and cast her fearsome gaze upon him as he looked up with terror in his dark eyes, staring up into her bright green eyes as she towered over him. Her long red hair pulled back into braids, which dripped with the blood of his people, drip, drip, on the face of his cheek of his face. Thera took the boy by the hand, saying, "Do not fear for your life, little child, for no harm shall come your way. But see now and weep for the destruction of these men who came here in armed aggression against my people." Now here, as she spoke, one of the older, stronger of the men said loudly to the commander, so all the people that gathered there could hear, "You have stolen the golden idols from our temples. By your own orders, our priests were slaughtered as they slept in their beds. As your soldiers crept in by cover of night, in the darkness you committed these sins against my people, against my gods. We have come here today to return our temples, sacred idols." Now this brought a few laughs from the victorious warriors, though not from Thera, as she quieted the ladies with one sound of her mouth. Shh. Then she grabbed the boy and climbed back upon her massive, well-trained warhorse, telling the little boy she wanted him to have a better view. Then she went forward with her horse's nose pressed close to the man who dared speak out, and Thera looked at him with a glare as cold as a serpent's embrace, speaking down to him. "Yes, 'tis true, every word you say. We could have also burned down your temple to the ground, or used them as barracks for my warriors, as the Spartans did when they invaded Athens. But these will all be matters left for history. As for today, all your lives will most certainly come to an end. The golden idols of your gods have not served you well, and all of your prayers to them have gone unanswered. And by the law of Artemis, my army shall take no prisoners, and with your people, of whom we find a sorry breed, do not wish to bear fruit. Breeding season approaches, but alas, we find you a sorry breed of men, and this shall prove to be your greatest misfortune." Thera gave a signal to the mounted cavalry officers to her right, amassed in a long line of horses beside the shoreline. As they slowly moved closer to the men who turned their backs to the approaching animals, walking into the cold blue water, the men felt the chill of the Black Sea, which was up to their knees, their poor hearts racing. Then, as the little boy watched in horror, Thera gave the doomed foreign army one last command: "March into the ocean! March into the sea!" Her voice came loud over the sound of the surf crashing against the shore, the deep blue waters now up to their chests, as the heavy weight of the chains which bound them all together pulled them down deeper, and deeper. The women were all quiet on the beach, listening to the drowning screams of the men. The stronger of the 40 men tried to fight against the heavy weight dragging them down, but soon their muscles and bodies and spirits grew tired, succumbing quickly to the inundation of the salt water filling their aching lungs, as their panic and terror was replaced by a deep, abiding peace. Then the sea fell silent, save for the sound of the waves crashing against the sandy shores and the plaintive wails coming from the grief-stricken boy as he watched his brother and uncle and countrymen perish in a sacrifice to these warrior women's god of the sea. After a moment more of silence, Thera called for one of the dead men's tunics to be taken from the large pile discarded there, so the naked boy might have something to wear and be clothed once again and given a shred of dignity. There was a peaceful calm amongst the troops as they watched their commander standing on the beach, slipping the green garment over the boy. The sad little child looked up into Thera's face as she towered over him, and here he noticed, as they had removed their helmets, that all of these women had black paint covering their eyes in a wide band that stretched from temple to temple. These women were all so tall and in the greatest of physical shape, long, muscular legs and arms, all arrayed in the finest of armor. Their breastplates, that on the right side appeared to be that of a man's chest, and the left side was that of a woman's breast. Thera noticed the boy eyeing their armaments and weapons, and this gave her much happiness, as she, a well-trained eye for talent, saw the fascination in the boy's eyes. "Boy," Thera said loudly, speaking in a commanding voice, "what is it that you are called?" The little boy peered up at her and in a small voice said, "Elgar." "Well then, Elgar, I shall send you home soon. I will provide you with food and water. I will allow you to return to your land with a chariot and team of our horses." As she said this, Thera lifted up the dark-eyed boy back up in the saddle of her war-horse and asked him this question: "Do you know why we have put those men to death by the sea today?" The 12-year-old boy thought for a moment, the sea breeze lifting his long black curls across his face as he pulled back a lock of hair from his eyes, saying, "Because you are a wicked people?" He said, as the women gathered there on the shore laughed along with the commander. Everything was quite amusing to them on this day. "Yes, this is true, every word you speak," she smiled up at the young lad. "Elgar, we have brought these men to their death to appease our god of the sea, so that we might find favor with the fates, and so their flesh might feed the creatures of the deep, and this is why you have seen what you have seen." Thera felt a strong affinity for this child for some reason, and then she said, "Now, as for you, when you return home and tell how you survived and all you have witnessed, you shall be called a hero and be a joy and a blessing to your people." Thera smiled up at the fortunate young man, saying, "You, I am sure, will continue in your military training, for I am sure you harbor some revenge?" "Yes," he said in a voice that was as big and as bold as his spirit, telling her, "I will raise up an army of thousands, and I shall come back and fight you and make you and your ladies and your horses sleep in the water forever." More laughter broke out amongst the troops, who stood in the midday sun as the salt-scented breeze caressed their blood-soaked faces. "Now that sounds like a challenge. Very well, sir. Come back with your army. Now they must be well-trained and well-equipped and well-fed, as well as your horses." Thera delighted in this discourse. "Now you yourself, Captain Elgar," Thera said, instantly promoting him. "Yes, Captain Elgar, you are in need of expert training. So let me be the first to have this honor, for you shall come back in 10 years from today, and after 10 years' winters have passed, return to me on the battlefield a general, and the daughters of Themyscira will be here to lead the fight against you." Thera then explained. "For I am their commander," she said, pointing to the armor-clad warriors. "They look to me for instructions in times of warfare, and now is the time to tend to the aftermath of battle. However, let me first show you what you and your army will be facing when we meet again." Thera called her generals to bring their divisions in order, 4 long columns, 5 wide and hundreds deep, assembled quickly in formation, in perfect, precise order. Thera called for 1 warrior, 1 from each division, to step forth and to present arms so Elgar could see firsthand and understand the threat and force of the Themysciran army. End chapter 1. Please Join me again for M.C.McNeel's Twisted Fiction, and we shall begin Chapter 2 of Blood for Flowers by M.C. McNeil. Thank you. Good night. And remember, this is the first time I'm doing this, so please, bear with me.